It feels good to be vindicated. About a year and a half ago, I made a bold claim. I made one of, if not my number one hottest take, that even had CJ looking at me confused. Playing with LeBron James has that same sort of pressure, if not more. And it's because he's not with LeBron. He had such a bad reputation with LeBron because he's playing for the Lakers, where if you fuck up on the Lakers, there's millions and millions of posts about it, and your reputation.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But then, Kenny for real said this.
LeBron does have this, effect sometimes on these role players where they become a part of LeBron James's team and they immediately forget how to hit a shot when they've been hitting shots for 9+ seasons in the NBA. So I'm just going based on the track record, you know what I'm saying? He might get I don't even know. He might fall off like some of the other people do when they play with LeBron. The pressure's too high, because once you play with LeBron, you're playing for championships at the end of the day, and maybe that pressure's too much. But just going based on what Taurean Prince has been throughout the course of his career, he is an amazing pick.
What Kenny just said basically confirms what I've been saying, and it gives me a reason to revisit this video and redo my argument and present it again, with a years and a half more experience in editing and research. I especially want to revisit this thumbnail, because you gotta admit, this visual is pretty fire. Anyway, let's break this down one by one. It's no secret that LeBron is at the center of the NBA. He is the face of it, even with him being seen as the GOAT to many people. There are so many questions as to what happens when he retires, similar to Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and other greats of the past. I even made a video of this, so you should go check it out. However, this is a problem. When you get treated like a god, you start to believe you truly are a god. Anywhere you look for basketball, LeBron is usually not far behind. He's known globally and is the 6th richest athlete of all time. He's posted everywhere online and advertised everywhere else as well. This only feeds his lay ego and power. Unfortunately, absolute power corrupts absolute, and this sets the stage for all of the other arguments in this video. For these next two arguments, let's rewatch the Kenny for real clip to set the basis. In my old video, I presented the argument that playing on a larger market scale is intimidating, which leads to a change of performance for those that don't know how to handle it. This should be obvious, as it's a very human response. No matter how big of a superstar you are, if you go from singing to your friends and family in the backyard to singing the national anthem in front of a stadium crowd, well, there's definitely a difference in the nerves you have to internalize. In my previous video, I mainly quoted the article by Baller Life, which also summarizes the point I want to make very well. But as I said in the beginning, the point of this video is to expand on the last one. I tried to find some sources that seemed promising, like Big Markets versus Small Markets, The Psychological Difference for Players by Tom Zimmer of SB Nation. But every time I clicked on a link like this, for some reason it always returned blank. So instead, I turned to the next level. Actual scholarly sources that have researched and documented this phenomenon in psyche. So let's dive into a few things they've said. The first reference we'll look at is Performance Under Pressure in the NBA in the Journal of Sports Economics. They strategically used the free throw to measure the percentage of missed shots and quote-unquote choking, because all free throws are from the same distance and undefended, making it a good and easy constant to use as a control in the experiment. They used it to measure heightened pressure such as bigger audience, point difference, and time left in the game. And this is what they found. The table shows players shoot 4.8% and 6.6% worse when down by 1 or 2 points in the last 30 seconds. The respective numbers for the last 15 seconds are 6.8 and 8.8%. Now this may seem like a small percentage, but missing nearly an additional 1 out of 10 shots can change the game. They finished the article concluding, "We have strong evidence that NBA players do choke, and to a substantial degree. And also, we find that when games are tied in the last 15 seconds, after a made free throw, the shooter's team has a 69.5% chance of winning in the current period, and only a 35% chance of winning after a missed free throw." Another source, called Choking or Delivering Under Pressure, the case of elimination games in NBA playoffs, does exactly what it sounds like as well, analyzing the effect playoff atmosphere and elimination games have on teams. What they found was, the current analysis suggests that teams that lost more games in the series thus far, and therefore faced with elimination, will likely lose another game rather than mobilize itself and outperform its opponent. Then there's External Factors in Athletic Performance by Kimberly Diana Dahl, where they said, in sports where interactions with the opponent before competition are greater, anxiety is believed to grow and become more detrimental. And also, anxiety may also be exacerbated from other sources such as feeling unprepared, the size or type of audiences, fighting to maintain or win a position, or receiving negative criticism. That is the point I want to talk on. But the other biggest nail in the coffin comes from that same source. Stress comes in many forms, not all of which are directly related to competitive performance. Many of the stressors an elite athlete faces do not come from the competition, but rather the organization of the teams he or she plays for, and the athlete's role within the organization of the team and the cohesiveness among players were also revealed to be stressors. Okay, so I just threw a lot of sources at you, but why? What exactly am I getting at? Well, again, let's hone in mainly on that last source. Players have a lot of stress playing in larger markets, especially when they play an important role. This is what I referred to as the small market versus large market effect. Players that play on smaller markets are genuinely more loyal to those franchises because they like the atmosphere compared to bigger markets. This especially is tuned up even higher with smaller markets drafting for that kind of loyal character. The Spurs' Big Three, Dirk Nowitzki, Reggie Miller, and even in the present day with Giannis, Jokic, or De'Aaron Fox for the Kings before the Kings made their big break. Sure, a bigger market means more money, a bigger career, more popularity, but that's exactly it. More popularity, more eyes on them, more cameras on them, higher expectation, higher scrutiny, higher pressure, and so on. Now let's take that same idea of big market versus small market and apply it to one player. LeBron is so big and powerful, he carries the effect of playing on a big market wherever he goes. I even suggested he has the power to make OKC a big market if he goes there to play with his son. He has the power to bring that same scrutiny, eyes, cameras, expectations, and even more to the team he plays on, especially since he's playing now on the Lakers that's already a big market to begin with. Bleacher Report made an article called "Why Does No One Want to Play with LeBron Anymore?" in which they said, when the King moved to LA, everyone assumed stars would follow. But according to some of those players, the challenge of playing in the shadow of a legend and the scrutiny that surrounds him may not hold the appeal we all thought it would. They even quoted players that were offered to play with LeBron and turned it down, such as Kyle Lowry saying, "It's the LeBron effect. He puts a lot of pressure on you." So let's keep that in mind as we carry on to the next points as well. To build off the last point, With more cameras and eyes on you and higher expectations, everything you do is magnified. If you slip up one time, you're seen as washed up instantly. On CBS, they talk about Westbrook putting it as everything shifts, expands, and shrinks. To spotlight your money, your very standing. And when you fail, as a team, as a player, as the Lakers and Westbrook clearly have together, the physics of LeBron's world can be brutal. On top of that, with LeBron's fame, as we discussed before, he has protection. Nothing is ever his fault. As Bleacher Report puts it, if the team wins, it will be credited mostly to James, but if the team loses, it will be blamed on everyone around him. And that is exactly correct. Kevin Durant also added, "I get why anyone wouldn't want to be in that environment because it's toxic." We've seen many examples of this. Russell Westbrook, as we discussed before, Kyle Kuzma, and many more. As I put in my original video, one foul too many or 1 point not enough, and you could vanish from the basketball world. Kevin Love and many others have spoken out about this, which I put in my past video.
Just curious from your perspective, you're friends with Russ, friends with LeBron, we're his teammate, and because it's the Lakers and because it's LeBron, like the amount of scrutiny that those guys have to deal with, is it fair? Is it unfair? Is it spot on? What's your sort of perspective on it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that Bron has like a gravitational pull, right? Like everybody, the media, people that love him, people that hate him, people that love the Lakers, hate the Lakers, all media, I mentioned that already, but like everybody just like focuses on that. So any step in the wrong direction, people are just going to like take that and just keep just grinding away on it. And it's tough. I mean, it's obviously a massive media market. Everybody expects the Lakers to do great things, especially with having a big three, with, even with AD being out, they expect big things from him. But it's tough. Like, I played with Bron and we were under a lot of scrutiny as well in Cleveland, and we had great expectations, and people were saying, finals or championship or bust. So with that, yeah, every little misstep, or you lose 3 in a row, or you're hovering around 500, it's just, a dozen different storylines. It's a soap opera. People always got to have stuff to talk about, 24/7, 365 media presence and different storylines. If not, it's, you're not going to get your ratings. People aren't going to watch the show. I mean, it's just a fact.
I mean, that's why I asked you. That's literally the reason I asked you. You live that. You live that.
You could tell by the SportsCenter Instagram of how much they put LeBron up, no matter what happens with him, that it's a numbers thing.
No, it's totally a numbers thing. And I mean, listen, like JJ said, he's the greatest player of our generation, and in the GOAT talks, like, and people are going to follow his every move. So his team, if somebody's not performing or somebody is, messing up, the Lakers season, so they say, then, they're going to be the scapegoat.
And you had to adjust to playing with LeBron.
And sacrifice. I think really of any position or anybody on the team, I felt I did have to sacrifice the most. And so my, you want to call it adjustment period, or learning curve was likely a lot steeper than most or all on the team. So, you're going to get the finger pointed at you. I went from being, an all NBA, all-star guy to then being that third option. I think.
As we said in the last points, everyone has to be on their absolute best when playing with LeBron. Otherwise, they're seen as G League or worse. This can be also very hard with the pressure, as we said before. We talked about how a player's role on a team is very impactful to their stress. But if you do manage to find your place with LeBron, what does that look like? Where is your place with LeBron? Well, no matter who you are, you'll be taking a demotion. Remember that Bleacher Report quote from earlier? Inside the quote, we'll touch on a specific part here: the challenge of playing in the shadow of a legend. The same Bleacher Report article we've been using reports, as it turns out, based on conversations with more than a dozen players, there are quite a few reasons. Most obvious, perhaps, is the fact that everyone, no matter how accomplished, becomes a role player next to LeBron. There are many upon many players that see a decrease in their game or a change in their role next to LeBron. Let's go through a few examples. Kevin Love, as previously mentioned when talking about stress, also talked about his diminished role on the Cavs, saying, "I'd be lying to myself and lying to everyone here if I was telling you I didn't have to sacrifice." And while yes, Kevin Love saw success with the Cavs and played a crucial role in the championship run, he was still going from an elite all-star to the third option on the team, and had his scoring output significantly decreased. Time magazine breaks it down saying, Bosch's comments were referring to shot attempts and scoring totals. With LeBron as a teammate, Bosch averaged 13 field goal attempts and 17.3 points per game. In the 4 seasons before coming to Miami, Bosch averaged 16 field goal attempts and 22.9 points per game. Remember, Bosch got to win in Miami, and he got paid more money, but he went hungry because his shot attempts and scoring declined. And Love, who averaged 17.1 field goal attempts and 13.5 points per game in the last 4 years in Minnesota, expects that he will also sacrifice shot attempts and playing with LeBron. When Ty Lue was the coach of the Cavs, he said the whole team was a second option. Bosch continued, saying, "Yeah, it's a lot more difficult taking a step back, because you're used to doing something a certain way, and getting looks a certain way." Most of LeBron's teammates turned from top scorer to just floor spacers. The biggest example is probably Kyrie. Kyrie was an absolute powerhouse with LeBron, but after a while, he got tired of being the sidekick and decided to leave. Later on, this same sentiment would carry with him to Brooklyn. He felt like he was falling into that same trap with KD, being just a small sidekick and second option. Landscape Sports had a segment about this, saying, speaking about the mental toll of playing alongside LeBron, Irving says, "You're being tested in the biggest stage, in front of everyone, all the time. I mean, like, there was not a time where it was like the eyes weren't on me, on Braun, on Love, our team, our organization. I went from being in Cleveland to having half the fans show up, to now Braun shows up, and now every night is packed. Every road game is like a home game for us." You think of the media attention that comes with all of that, and the elevated pressure of now it's championship or you fail. And then you gotta figure out, how do you fit in the system? Basketball is a systemic game. How do you build that strategy? And how do you fit in with that? It was tough. In my previous video, I put it in a nice and clever way I'd like to reuse. We constantly say LeBron is the king. Well, with the king comes knights, gestures, and pawns, to which he can execute at any time if they don't make him laugh or do their job. So if you don't move aside for LeBron, or you do end up screwing up with the pressure and with the additional scrutiny, well, then what happens?
Bron was like behind the scenes. What's his nickname that they like call him? GM?
Yeah, he's the GM.
He's back there like, yeah, he be going home.
Say
like,
no, his nickname. You know he the GM.
He is the GM. Yeah,
he the GM.
He put that whole squad together.
Yeah.
He put the squad together.
Okay.
I wasn't mad at him. I was like, all right, bet. So this is how it goes.
That's dope.
I've brought up this point many times in the past, but players have been exercising their power more and more in the league, and GMs and coaches are starting to become obsolete, especially the more powerful a player you are. There have been many jokes about lay GM and lay coach. It all goes back to the first point we made about his popularity creating a correlation to power. Once again, in my previous video, I used a line that I'd like to use again. LeBron gets to play player, coach, and GM, or in other words, judge, jury, and executioner. If LeBron wants you gone, you're gone. And David Griffin, who used to be the GM for the Cavs, said LeBron was almost as powerful as the Cavs owner, and LeBron's going to have the biggest voice. He's the most important, accomplished player in the league. As we said, you screw up in LeBron's world, and your entire name could be wiped from basketball history. The LeBron James curse is real. While he may be the king, he's a tyrant king, and his power will hold true until he retires. The additional scrutiny, attention, expectation, and pressure will continue to anyone that plays with him. The question is, when LeBron retires, does the curse live on? Does it get passed down to the new face of the league? The power, the influence, the attention, and maybe most importantly, the protection? Or does this only come when you're considered in GOAT arguments? For that, we'll have to wait and see. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. Be sure to share the video around and subscribe if you enjoyed, as it really does help me out. The last couple of videos have gotten over 5,000 views. We've increased by over 100 subs in the last couple months. So let's try and hit 1,000 before the end of the year. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.